Camilla knocked at the door just as her parents were about to go to bed and announced, "Elena has run away." Haberdash Books presents a forgotten novel by one of Italy's most important writers. In 1840, in the Sicilian city of Catania, a lawyer's son was born who would go on to rewrite the rules of Italian fiction. His name was Giovanni Verga. Verga left Sicily for Florence, then Milan, chasing the literary world of his time. But it was Sicily he kept returning to on the page, its villages, its families, its unwritten codes of honor. And he set himself one strict rule as a writer: never speak. No commentary, no judgment, only what the characters themselves would see and say and do. That rule became a movement. It was called Verismo, Italian realism, and it changed the direction of Italian literature. One of Verga's stories, a short, brutal tale called Cavalleria Rusticana, became a play and then an opera. It is still performed in opera houses around the world today. But between his most celebrated books, in 1882, Verga wrote a novel that almost nobody remembers. It was never translated into English. Until now, Il marito di Elena, Elena's husband, a respectable Sicilian family, a daughter who disappears in the middle of the night, and a marriage that follows, built not on love, but on the desperate need to save a family's name. Then her mother sat bolt upright in bed and began to shriek, "They've stolen my daughter! They've stolen my daughter!" "Quiet," her husband told her. "Don't shout like that. The neighbors will hear." The poor man, utterly distraught, still half barefoot, with his shirt billowing like a hump between the crisscrossing suspenders, went to light another candle. But he couldn't manage it. His hands trembled so much. Then, together, they began to search the house, as if Elena were playing hide-and-seek. When Don Liborio returned to the marital bedroom, he was paler than his shirt, and his hair hung disheveled on either side of his bald head. He placed the candlestick on the bedside table and stood with his arms dangling, facing his wife, who sat on the bed like a brooding hen. Donna Anna began to wail again. "Why aren't you running? Are you still here? They've stolen my daughter Elena." Don Liborio began to gather his clothes, scattered around the room, rushing frantically up and down, bumping into chairs and the chest of drawers, fumbling among his wife's skirts, bundled on the sofa. Camilla helped him get into his suit, adjusted his shirt on his shoulders, and ran after him with his hat and stick in hand. Donna Anna, crouched on the bed, continued to rail. "It was Cesare. We must go to the commissioner and tell him that Cesare stole our daughter, and he'll go to jail if he doesn't marry her." Still groaning and lamenting, she pulled on a skirt, threw a shawl over her shoulders, and began to rummage through the rooms herself, dragging Camilla with the lamp behind her, while her husband staggered down the stairs. She searched through all the drawers, tossing everything into the air, feeling the silk handkerchiefs one by one at the bottom with her hands, inspecting the cases of gold objects, flinging open the wardrobe doors, which revealed Elena's inert garments hanging there, her little boots lined up underneath, almost as if to say that her feet were at that very hour pounding the countryside. Finally, more calmly, she went to sit in her usual spot in front of the card table and gave vent to her tears. Camilla, stiffly seated on the chair opposite her, with her arms crossed under her chest and her face washed out, said nothing. After a short while, seeing that her mother was letting off steam by herself, she quietly sought the thread and a bobbin in the basket, and began to make lace very quietly, without raising her eyes. Throughout the entire district, nothing could be heard but the tick-tack of the clock in a dark corner of the room, beyond the luminous circle that the lamp spread over the edge of Donna Anna's skirt and her daughter's wax-colored hands. All of a sudden, the cat began to meow softly in the dark void of the anteroom, looking at the unusual light with glittering eyes, and Donna Anna, who had dozed off, woke with a sigh. "Papa is taking a long time to come back," Camilla then said. Her mother opened her eyes completely and replied in a hoarse voice, "Poor man." Finally, the poor man was heard returning, dragging his feet along the street. As soon as he entered, he collapsed onto the sofa, as if his legs were broken, utterly defeated, with his hat on his head and his cane in his hands. And as the women anxiously questioned him, he grew angry, to steel himself. "What do you want now? You've lost the mule, and you're looking for the halter. They laughed in my face when they heard the abductor is younger than my daughter. Do you understand, Donna Anna? Nowadays there's no police, no justice, nothing. If the maid steals your silverware, you have to produce witnesses. If someone steals your daughter, you have to state how old she is. Elena's husband has never been available in English before tonight. Haberdash Books translated it in full for the first time. One more piece of a much larger project, bringing the world's forgotten literature back into English, one book at a time. If you want to know what happens to Elena and to the husband she never chose, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.